her background is
But-
nerd.
Darren should have gone to school here instead of Cutter because you are a devil. I can tell you that right now. A minute.
She
early.
rolls in like she's a Hollywood movie star now. She's just here. Hey, she's just here for the camera.
I guess I tooted.
No hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah,
Shall
but-
we talk about my one sentence resignation?
Welcome to the next episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D, the road show. As we like to say. It's kind of homecoming.
Coberland.
Yeah, kind of homecoming for you and I,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit. Yeah.
So I know I did 9 years here, and you
3.
3, yeah. And so great campus. And I was telling
Yes.
somebody, or telling the staff that's with me today that I was here when we built the middle school, and the unique thing about this building, made out of wooden trusses. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was a big deal. We got we got national attention over this thing.
Yeah, that's unusual. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I told him I was here 3 years. I didn't even know that.
And the interesting thing, honestly, it saved us a little over $1 million back then.
Wow.
Because, steel and lumber and
Yeah.
all that. So, and as we researched it, it got in vogue to build block school buildings because the wood was considered a fire hazard or whatever. So, but enough about us in Found Lake.
Yeah.
Let's get to the guy
It's
that
our guest.
Hey,
Yeah.
get to the guy that runs the middle school over here.
Yeah.
Mr. Adam Stage, middle school principal. So tell us a little. This is your first year here.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about your background. Who you are, where you came from, and your path in education, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I was born and raised right here in close to Hot Springs, between Hot Springs and Malvern.
Okay.
Went to Lakeside until ninth grade, and transferred to Magnet Cove. Graduated from Magnet Cove, and then interesting. Kind of. We were poor as dirt when I was a kid. We didn't even have a car. We were just trying to make ends meet, and so transferred to Magnet, and we graduated from there, and then went to college for 3 years. Decided that I didn't want to do college anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so left, went and just did some things for a little bit, and then finally decided after I got married, hey, I probably need to make some money. It's like some real money. And so went back to college and decided I did want to teach. And, main reason really, it was more for me about I was a youth pastor in a little bit. I did want to build relationships with kids, and so that was a big reason I went into it. And so started at Magnet Cove, taught there for 6 years.
Taught my daughter.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Good teacher.
yeah,
Good
that was tough.
I start to say, I bet those parent-teacher conferences were a nightmare.
Oh
weren't
my
they?
gosh,
Oh.
yes.
Oh.
Well, and she was actually about as well behaved of a student as I've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know where she got that, but
It would be her dad.
is that where it is?
100%.
No, absolutely
100%,
not.
yes.
Absolutely not. She got that from me.
But it was kind of wild. My first year,
What
I had.
did you teach? What?
So I taught my first year. I taught English, oral communications, drama, and it was 9th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade English. And then I taught creative writing as well. So I had 6 preps,
Yeah.
and it was
Wow.
Small school.
Yeah.
Small school problems.
it was
OC drama guy right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Those poor kids. I know they got. I don't know that they got anything that first year, but we tried.
Right.
But so I did that for 6 years. Transferred to. I actually went back to school for school counseling.
Okay.
Became a counselor at Cutter, and then did that for 2 years, and then I became the high school principal at Cutter. Did that for a couple of years, and then came over here.
Okay.
Middle school principals at the table.
That's right.
Former
Yeah.
middle school principals.
Absolutely.
Present and
Yeah.
former.
Yeah, exactly. So
Got all kinds of stories.
and I'm like you. My path was reverse. I was middle school first, then high school. But I much prefer probably the middle school from the standpoint of I used to say this a lot. I feel like middle school is truly one of your last realistic opportunities to reach a kid before they get get into high school, I guess is the best way to say
Yeah.
that. And I mean, I think you can make a difference in any level, don't get me wrong, but I really think middle school, you have an incredible opportunity.
I agree.
To hit
Yep.
those kids.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they
if you can get past the farts and
Yeah.
the Axe body spray and
Yeah.
those
and the
kinds of things.
sniffing Smarties.
something happens between
Yeah.
6th and 7th grade. I don't know what
That's
that is, but
Yeah.
something happens between 6th and 7th grade
Yeah.
year that it's pretty wild when
Yeah.
they get to 7th
Yeah.
grade.
Oh,
And
yeah.
8th grade is like the epitome. It's,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
They literally lose their mind.
Yeah.
They don't care about anything.
You don't even want to say,
Yeah.
what were you thinking? Like, I couldn't even ask him that because I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
were.
weren't,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I say about middle school. It's that's the other part is the you learn to expect the unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I wouldn't trade those middle school years for anything.
No, it was fun. They were fun.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. It
But
really
I went
has.
backwards high school, then
Yeah.
and then to middle school. But
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a weird deal because you get to I've really worked high school my whole career, and you get to middle school, especially with 5th and 6th graders, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Stage, like
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
talk to you. I want your
Yeah.
attention."
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
And you don't get that 9 through
Yeah,
12.
yeah,
Now
right.
they'll have conversations with you when you get to know them, but most of
Right.
the time they're pretty cool, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you don't have that.
Well, and I would say probably that was the coolest thing for me in the path that I took was having them in middle school, and then we had a
Yeah.
couple year break from one another, but getting back together in high school because of like you're saying,
You
we'd
made the
already known them, and,
That's
and,
cool.
and was really had that relationship developed and able to converse with them, visit. So, but yeah, but middle school again, very formidable years, no doubt about it. So
really
Yeah.
important.
Oh yeah, you gotta have definitely. You gotta love it if you're teaching or administrator in
Right.
the
Yes.
middle school
absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so let's go back to the when you left college for a bit and before you came back. I know you said you did youth ministry. What else did you do in those years?
So I actually went to Pennsylvania,
Oh, wow.
and I stayed there for 3 years, and I actually went to an unaccredited Bible school.
Okay.
And so that was something I just prayed about and felt like
Sure.
I was supposed to do, and
Right.
I don't want to ever live in Pennsylvania again. It was very cold.
Yeah.
I remember one instance. I lived on campus, and they would have the guys shovel snow if the snow got
yeah.
really bad, and the girls they didn't have
Sure.
to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they would
Heck,
actually put the shovels were right outside their dorm, and they would put like little messages on the window, "Let it snow," and
Yeah.
things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
That's
And
awesome.
but we were out there digging. I mean, literally the snow it was like a blizzard, and so
Yeah.
the snow was so high on both sides of the path. It was over our heads when we got done shoveling. Like
Oh, my
you could only
God.
see a pathway,
Yeah.
but we worked all day on shoveling that, and then about 3/4 of the way through, they bring a snowblower out that they had the whole time.
So funny.
I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah,
That is
just to
so
see if
funny.
you were willing. Yes,
But it was cold. It was really cold.
yeah.
Not my type of
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah. So, any other interesting jobs you've held out there?
So I worked at Cracker Barrel for
Okay.
a long time. I cooked
Yeah.
there. I waited
Oh,
tables
wow.
there, and I did that for several years. Really, in that time I was in school, the time I left high school, and that was always interesting. Just I guess customer service definitely prepared me for administration.
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%,
For
yeah.
sure.
And that's the thing too. Like I've said many a time on here is that, I took a different path. Radio was going to be my life, but the thing that I learned was the skill set that I did learn in radio and the communications world is certainly played well, especially in the admin role. It's about people, and just like Cracker Barrel, it's service, right? You get that. So, do you walk in Cracker Barrel now, or you just totally avoid it?
We do sometimes, and mainly because our kids love Cracker Barrel, and we have
Yeah.
4 kids. We have 3 boys, and we have a girl. We just had a girl a year
Right.
ago. She's a year old, and so they just go in that store and just
Oh, yeah.
wreak havoc.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why they want to go. They don't care about anything else except going into
Going
the
to the
store and
store.
throwing the toys around.
Yeah. Hey, can I have this $3 something? Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna last. Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're saying, "Oh, here comes
So-
Sage and the kids."
Yeah, I know. They're like, oh no, not these people.
So, what are the ages of your kids?
So we have 7, 4, 2, and then the 1-year-old. Or I'm sorry, 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you
hadn't
guys
made
don't-
it to your building yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys don't have anything to do then,
Yeah.
do you?
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. Actually, this morning it's wild all the time.
Yeah.
But
Right.
and so my 3-year-old has been making laser mazes, and
Oh, okay.
laser mazes are I take string and I string it all over the house on every doorknob and every post that I can
Oh,
find, and then
Yeah.
we run through it as fast as we can.
Right.
So I've gotten on to him about it several times, like we're not doing this anymore. And so I wake up this morning. He's still in bed, and then I go in the bathroom, get ready. I come back out, and there's a laser maze all over the house again.
So
Surprise,
he's
Dad,
crafted
surprise.
the art of getting it done quick.
Yes, he did it really quickly.
That's awesome.
See,
That's awesome.
Sage fits in like us at middle
Yeah.
school because we're still kind of a little middle
Oh, yeah.
school.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
And that's a true statement. You have to be one to lead
Yeah, you
lead the
gotta-
masses.
Yeah.
Because I used to tell those kids all the time, I either did it,
Mm-hmm.
got caught doing it, or thought about
Or
it.
thought about it. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
And so, and the thing
gosh.
that's also kind of funny is even some of the little quote unquote dirty jokes are still floating around. That I mean, my gosh, I just turned 58, but some of those jokes are still floating around, and I'm thinking,
They are. Yeah.
through the test of time.
We're just not caught up on all the lingo now that says
Right.
we're not in the school where,
Oh yeah,
us are.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't even attempt it because I know I'm going to use it in the wrong tense.
Oh, gosh.
So influential wise, who was that teacher or teachers for you?
So there was a teacher that was hardcore in high school at Magnet Cove. Her name was Paula Redding. I don't know if you've heard of
know
her,
her.
but they called her the Dragon Teacher.
Wow.
And she would take your head off if you
Right.
did anything wrong.
Right.
She
Yeah.
had her moments, but she was an English teacher, and she really, really did care about kids and learning. And
Right.
so she had a huge impact on me, probably the reason I went into
Right.
education.
Oh,
Right.
It was kind of interesting because when I taught at Magnet, I was teaching in her same room with her same desk.
Yeah. Oh,
My
wow.
friend- yeah, so that was
that's
kind of cool.
neat.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about being poor or what have you, but to me that's such an incredible story because I mean Candace and I mean nothing certainly I'd say lower middle class.
Yeah, I
kinda thing.
I worked when I was
Yeah.
14, 16.
Mhm.
We
But-
worked.
But the key I think to all of that probably was the importance of an education and how that can overcome so many things.
It can.
I think it's so important. In the back of my mind, I guess that's kind of the kid I always root for too, because I know it just takes one chance,
person.
one opportunity, and can really flip a life upside down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the kid I'm always trying to spot.
Right.
Is the one that, and that's at Cutter. There's a lot of kids in that position, and
Right.
man, you just really have a heart for those kids. You want them
Right.
to fit in, belong somewhere, and
Yeah.
that's a huge part
Yeah.
of being in education.
Yes.
Or even more than the academics. It's just like
Yeah.
if you can just have that one impact on that
That's
kid,
right.
it changes
Oh, yeah.
them. So
That's
well,
right.
and I think even back here, perfect example. It was back at a time where the state was they kind of backed off paying for the juniors, I guess, to take the ACT. And so I told our board, I said, well, we're going to set money aside every year because it truly can be a life-changing event. And I know of one student in particular. She took the test and I mean just blew it out of the water and got a full ride for 4 years. Otherwise, wouldn't have had that opportunity. And I told our board, what a small price to pay to change somebody's life.
To change a life. Yep.
And I think those people are the ones that go out, tell the story,
Mm-hmm.
and can add. That real life situation to it to make it incredible. So
Yep.
I agree.
how many kids y'all got now? No, roughly.
No, here at Fountain.
You're not talking about me. I haven't had any kids since we last talked about it.
I'm talking about in the middle school.
I knew what you were talking about, but it sounded like, and I'm thinking, okay, he is 58. Okay, like maybe you forgot about that.
I did have a birthday recently. Yeah.
No, we have around 400 kids.
Wow. Yeah.
So about 100 per grade.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Manageable number.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And you know the thing too, the thing that's been exciting, even I think since we were here, facility wise, all those things. I mean, Fountain Lake, is a really good school district, and I would say that even if I didn't have that background in me.
Yep.
So my dad's a graduate in 57 or 8 around there, and I always tell that story when I ask him about coming over here. He said, "Well, my name's on the wall. Don't screw it up." Okay, I got you. But the thing is, we're so blessed in Garland County. I mean, you've been able to, like you said, you went to Lakeside, you worked at Cutter, you worked at Fountain Lake. We got some great schools around here.
Really great schools, and I can tell you just coming over here at Fountain Lake, I mean, it really is a good place to be.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed my 3 years here. It was awesome.
Yeah, and they kicked you out, I know.
That's what happened. Yeah.
It's good until they kick you out.
I
but-
tell you though, like I literally cried for 2 weeks because I just I was so attached to the kids, people, and
Yes.
but I just felt like God was leading me back over to Magnet and that principal position, plus with my family.
Yeah.
And with like 15 co-ops around the state. I mean, top to bottom, our schools are incredible. I mean, we've got some of our counterparts and some of the struggles that they have. I'm like, whoo, man.
Yeah.
We're fortunate.
We're very blessed and
fortunate.
fortunate.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing probably about being a principal?
Really, I think it's those moments when you have an opportunity to have even if a kid is a disciplined situation.
Sure.
Just having the opportunity to speak to those kids one-on-one.
Right.
And sometimes they're scared to death when they come in the office. Some of them have never been in the office.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But, you have the ones that are repeat offenders. But just having that opportunity to speak into their life
Absolutely.
is probably my favorite part.
Right.
Because you have them and they're kind of in a vulnerable state, and you have an opportunity to say, hey, there's going to be consequences, but here is, just some advice going forward, some things that you can do, and really talking about their future. Like, what are they going to do? Even at middle school, some of those, you said, like some of those traits that you see in middle school,
sure,
they start to widen when they get to high school. And if you can get them now and really speak something, it has such an impact. And so that's my whole purpose, really, just in education, just to give some kids something that hopefully will change their life.
Right. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing, but what's the least favorite thing of being a principal?
Well, it's calling the parents after those discipline situations.
Fair enough.
Or the lack of sleep, maybe.
Yeah. That's that, and anytime you have to deal with a personnel situation, those are never fun situations.
Right.
And if you're really busy, I love being home with my kids and seeing them and spending time.
Right.
So if you're all the time away,
Yeah. And I agree with that. And and that was the thing I think that I've been blessed with through the years. I mean you have those other duties as assigned, duties and those kinds of things. But with that being said, it's also good to have a good core group that's willing to step in and help out if you need to go to your kids X, Y, or Z. So and I feel like that's been the thing here. I think back to we used to laugh a lot because when we went with the conversion charter idea here, I told our staff back then, they used to call us crazy. Now they just call us. But I say that to say this community really and truly has always been very supportive.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had a lot of community support. Really, anytime we're doing something with the kids, we have parents show up. We just had a middle school dance, which is a whole, how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a lot of
Don't
parents
miss
there.
That. PTSD.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, but it was a good time, and the parents showed up and supported us, and did some chaperoning, and so that we always have that kind of support.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things too on your social media. I notice you're very active, and we talk about this a lot. And there's so many things going on that are so serious in education, but in my opinion, I truly believe this. You're one of the best in celebrating the positive.
Yes, and we have a new communications coordinator this year, Peyton Albright, and she really does a good job of getting positive messages out on social media.
Yeah.
And she does it. She's very systematic with it on when to share it, and she said she has an algorithm. So I don't know what that algorithm is, but she does a great job at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I think just the fact that you're always seems like rewarding kids for good things, and again, the thing that I've noticed about the kids that you reward, it's a pretty eclectic group. It looks like from the outside, it's not just one group.
Yeah. Well, we have a PBIS rewards day every month for kids that haven't had ISS or OSS, and so this past one we did a friendly feud, a family feud game, and they got on stage, and they had a lot of fun. Well, I'm not Steve Harvey, but but it was good. They really had a good time.
That's
really
awesome.
We do stuff like that a lot.
Yeah, if you do, I mean, I don't know. Anytime you can do something fun or embarrass yourself, the kids love it.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
We've done plenty. We've done plenty of crazy things.
So that's one of our favorite questions. You got to tell us an embarrassing moment that's happened somewhere along your educator path.
Okay. So
he's like, which one?
Yeah, there's so many. I make a fool of myself all the time.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I will say probably I was teaching at Magnet, and I walked by a Chromebook cart, and the Chromebook cart caught the seat of my pants and just ripped it off completely.
That's awesome.
And so it was
Sarah
towards
in there? Was Sarah in there?
I don't think she was in there on that one, but the students all knew it happened,
right?
And so and it was towards the end of the day, and so I just sat down the rest of the day. I'm not going home to change. I just sat in my seat, and they all knew, and so they will still, even if I see a kid that was in that class, I saw one later, like, do you remember that time you ripped your pants? Yes, I remember.
They don't forget that.
I mean, a lot of things you could probably hide or whatever, but that especially in front of them, and they'll never forget it.
No, they never will.
We were doing a podcast just yesterday, and it was a former student of mine when I first got started, and I said, yeah, I remember, and she goes, and she was super quiet, rule follower, and she goes, the thing I remember most about you accused me of cheating on a test because somebody asked me a question. Oh, my bad.
It was hilarious. I was like, so funny.
Yeah, but it's funny what kids remember.
That's why when you say, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is about like feelings and those relationships and the funny stuff. And,
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know.
And as time goes on, too, the other thing that's kind of mind-boggling is when you see mostly guys, as adults, they'll come up and apologize. Man, I was such a turd. I can't believe it. I'm sorry for getting, I'm like, man, that's the price of doing school, being a principal.
Listen, I'm like, when I had that foot surgery when I was principal at Magnet, I had to be on one of those scooters. And I was joking around with the kids one day, and I was just like, and the scooter hit the crack in the sidewalk, and I hit the ground. Well, the kid, I was being funny. I'm not going to say the kid's name, but I was like, I'll say Darren or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, Darren made me do it. And it was a joke. Like, I was like, I'm just kidding or whatever. Yeah. And so then when they do their like favorite memories or whatever, I don't remember if it was the senior night. I don't know what it was, or homecoming or whatever. And it was like when Darren knocked Miss Bennett off the scooter, which he didn't, which they knew. I mean, but it was just, it was hysterical. I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, they were like, and then I started laughing, and I was like, y'all got to help me up. I was like, I probably just put weight on my cast. Shouldn't have.
So in high school, I'm just thinking about like these kids, you meet these kids that were just you taught them and they were just awful.
Oh, yeah.
When you taught them, and then they
Yeah.
grow up and they're like the nicest individuals. Oh, what happened?
Yeah.
But I actually I was not the best student in high
Right.
school, and I was pretty well behaved, but there's a teacher at Magnet, and she's actually the middle school principal now over there.
Right.
Her name is Lori McJunkins. I really just gave it to her. And it was our first year of teaching,
Yeah.
and so she didn't know what she was doing probably,
Right.
and I just handed it to her every
Right.
day. I would give
Yeah.
her a hard time. So then
I hope you apologize.
I did apologize. She probably still hates me. I love her. She's
No,
great.
she does not
She's
hate
so
you.
good. No,
good.
I love Miss McJunkins. But I came back a year later and was actually doing some observing because I started in teaching when I was
Right.
first in college. And so she had this. I don't think you could. You might get fired for this nowadays. But she had this little thing on her desk that said "Ashes of Problem Students."
That's awesome.
And so she had names in there. So I opened it up. There's my name.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Oh,
That
man.
is hilarious.
Yeah. I was like, Miss McJunkins, what's my name doing in here?
That's awesome.
She
That's
probably was like, when they were like, we're going to hire Adam Stage, she's probably like, what?
No, not him. Anybody but him.
yeah.
Hey, yeah, kids grow up.
They
Yeah.
do.
Oh my
They do.
gosh, that is hilarious.
So do you think if you weren't doing education, what would you be doing, you think?
Well, I really wanted to be an airplane pilot.
Yep.
At one point in high school, and then I got talked out of it because you really don't have a family life. Of course, went into administration and you don't have a family life. So,
Right, yeah.
so I don't
Sounds
know.
like, yeah.
Maybe I should have been a pilot, but
Right, yeah.
but I did want to do that. I do preach a little bit on the side, so
Okay.
good.
definitely ministry would be a big thing if I wasn't.
Right.
But I've just really enjoyed my time in education.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
hard for me to see me doing anything else. So.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing I would not want to be, and that's a pre-K teacher because we stopped by one of
No.
our pre-Ks on the way over this
Absolutely
morning,
not.
and it's seriously
Herding cats.
That's exactly what I started to say. I've heard that analogy, but every time I get in, I mean, I love those kids. Don't get me wrong, and I'm usually the one instigating all that stuff. But this in particular was a guy from the Jacksonville Air Force Base. And he had different things for him to look at, and the teacher would go, okay, get in line, and we'll take turns. And then the first kid put the helmet on, and then it's like boom, they all just jumped on it. And I was like, man, that got wild in a hurry. And the teacher was just so patient. Get back on your star, please. And I was like, woof.
Yeah. I
So-
think I would scare pre-K kids. I don't know if
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but the thing that I do love about the pre-K kids is just how uninhibited they are with their questions. I mean, they had great questions,
Yeah.
for 4 and 5-year-olds for this guy.
Yeah.
And he was just, and he was awesome too. I mean, he got right down in the floor with them. And, yeah,
That's cool.
but I just thought, man, I consider myself a somewhat patient guy, but whoo, man, that's all patience all the time. So,
Yeah, especially when we have a kid in preschool down there, and
Yeah.
whoo, man, he's the laser maze kid. So, so it's,
Awesome.
So
You
you're
got-
you're having to be like, you can't go to school and build laser
yes,
mazes. Yeah.
exactly. In there you got 20 laser maze kids.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, and that's what I've learned too, because early on, in this particular position I'm in now, we get the opportunity to go out and visit all the schools, and even if you pull one kid over or whatever, I mean, everybody's like, whew, and then all the chaos. My favorite one was we were in Benton, and this was just coming right off of COVID, but we had this teacher of whatever, but the winner was a kindergarten teacher over in Bryan. So the win was they got cupcakes, the whole class. So we got to go in and hand out cupcakes, get them juiced up, and leave. That was awesome.
You get to be the grandpa.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
man.
that was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
So obviously, coming from your background, like you said, maybe what was one of the tougher challenges to get back in school? At what point? I mean,
Well, so when I left college, I just left in the middle of the semester.
Wow.
So that was dumb. It was
Sure, right.
really dumb.
Right.
And so there was a couple of classes that they obviously failed me because it's past
Right.
the withdrawal
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And so getting back and actually not having any money, and then trying to get a Pell Grant, and you can't get it if you haven't made academic progress. So.
Right.
Then I had to – it was just a whole process of going back and getting private student loans to try to pay for it, and then you know, trying to get it all done in a short amount of time. So
live and learn.
You know, I say it's funny. It's not at the time. I mean, you can look back on it, but it's definitely one of those God things, like, you know, because when I went back to get my education stuff, so when I was in school way back in the day in college with my radio television degree, we had to have a class called intermediate algebra. That's all you had to have for the degree. And I thought, well, I hate math. I suck at it. I'm not good. So I literally went the first day for midterm and the final, because all you had to have was a D. Right? So I got my D. Of course, my parents weren't happy with it, but I was like, hey, that's all the math I'll ever need. And then when I decided to go back and get into education, the very class that I needed was college algebra, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" but I, you know, took it out at community college. Had a great instructor, and you know, they had the math lab and all that stuff. But I had to work. My point is, I had to work 3 times harder.
Exactly.
You know, and I guess that's why, you know, God gives you the gift of hindsight 20/20, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's what I try to tell kids: do it right the first time.
Yes.
Right? You know?
Yeah.
It's a huge difference, you know, when you're coming in as an 18-year-old kid and you don't really understand life, and then you come back. When I came back to college, I was like, "We're doing this." I don't think my grades were terrible before I came back. I didn't ever make below an A, but it's just like that focus of. And I used to do a little bit of GED teaching at the jail here in Garland County, and I always find it interesting with those guys because, like, you would think going in there, these guys aren't going to care. Right. They cared more than anybody I've ever seen, because now they understand I'm in jail and I've got to get this GED. And so they're working hard on it.
Yeah, this is my ticket. Yeah, absolutely, And I've got a friend of mine, she teaches over at the jail in Malvern, and same thing. She's a retired educator, but she said that exact same thing, that the attention level is like no other. So those guys get it and they need it in order to progress. So and so but you know, the interesting thing too about the, you know, the admin piece, I think is you know, you'll never be 100% prepared for you know, and every day is different, right?
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I probably took for granted, although I love being around kids, and I know that's the biggest part, but the faculty piece is something you know, that I had to learn was equally as important as far as supporting them. And
I had to learn that too.
Making sure they have what they need, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and the biggest thing you can do for teachers is just make sure that the discipline is on point in your building. If you support them on the discipline, then they're gonna be 100% supportive of you, and so that's something. And then of course they love, you know, telling them thank you, giving them encouragement, and so you know, specific, not just a general faculty, but like going to them and saying, hey, you did a great job with this. That goes a long way too.
But, 100%, and that was probably something I learned very early on in my career, was to get out of the office as much as possible, being seen by the faculty, sitting in on those classes, to, like you say, to give not only a heartfelt compliment, but one with some substance, because you can. I mean, you were actually there.
Actions speak louder than words. Always.
Yeah. And that's what I used to tell folks all the time. You know, I want to be out of the office. You know, most days I can, but every day I want to be, just because and I get it. There are certain things that require that office time, but I truly love getting around the kids, around the teachers, that kind of thing. So, So what do you do for fun besides being a dad?
Man, it's hard. When I can, I like to go golfing.
Laser mazes. He does laser.
I do laser. I do those. Yeah, I'm pretty good at those.
You like to golf?
I golf occasionally, and I used to go all the time. I'm horrible at it.
Right.
I pretend to golf. It's not. If I'm about mid-90s, I'm pretty happy. I mean, it's not very good, but I did really like going. Just kind of get away.
Sure.
And, So. Man, I haven't been in months. So,
It's
but
starting to get warm now.
Yeah.
It's time
yeah,
to go
I know. I need to get out there. So we do a little of that. We actually had a membership with a guy at Hot Springs Village that we met one time that said, "Hey, you want our membership on my extra lot?" I was like, "Yeah." So we'll go out there quite a bit if I can.
Cool.
You know, and then, I mean, really reading, I read a lot if I can get to it, and, you know, between all the admin stuff, and, and, you know, I have a whole bunch of books on my shelf because I buy books all the time, but then I don't end up reading them. So I have a collection of books that I want to get to, you know, and, you know, just, again, hanging out with my family.
Oh, yeah.
Big thing.
You know, I keep saying this over and over, and as a country, our kids are struggling in the area of reading. And again, I mean, we could say lots of things have done that, I guess, social media or whatever. But I think back to a time, and even when we were at it, you know, I guess just, you know, socioeconomically speaking, a book was one of those things that would just take you away. And I think that was the love of reading. But again, we weren't competing with the PS5s or social media or phone.
Yep.
Yes.
That's true.
And that was another thing I think about the middle school age. If you could really hook a kid in, you know, whether it be through a series or otherwise. So, but yeah, reading's kind of a lost art. But yeah. So as a family, I mean, you guys get out, take vacations. What do you like to do?
Well, it's so crazy going on vacation with little ones. You know, but we went to the beach last year. We went down to Panama City Beach, but it's like being in the room and then like getting all of their stuff on their body. And they're not, I mean, they're not going to do it themselves. All the sunscreen. Then you got to load up a big wagon and get it down there. And then by the time you get down there, they're like, "Oh, can we go do this?" And then and then you got to get back up with all the stuff. Like, oh my gosh, it's just
you're like, not worth it.
Like,
let's just go to the pool.
I need a vacation from the vacation every time I go on vacation. So
I feel that. I know.
Well, and both of us, I guess you could call it a blessing. We you know, single children. So
So. One child.
But there still were days I'd be like the same thing, and I'm thinking. Then I'd look down there and I'd go, "Good Lord, they've got 4 kids. How are they pulling it off?"
Yeah.
I told Sarah, she just can't believe it, but I was like, "Yeah, your dad and I didn't go out to eat with you for a while because like we'd go out to eat and it was just like, what are we doing? Because you were wild." And she was like, "Nuh-uh." And I'm like, "Yeah, you were."
People look at us like we're crazy when we go out to eat with 4 kids. Like they are like, "What in the world are these people doing?" Because our kids, like, they're you can't get them to sit still. One of them's running around the table. I'm like, I promise. Like we try. Like we don't just let them do whatever at home. But I don't know what to do with them. And then they go to school and they're perfect. Like they're angels. Like I've not had one discipline issue out of either of the ones in school.
They save it for the house.
Well, and that's what I say. You know, I truly believe this, that most kids, I'd say in the large 90 percentile of kids, act better at school than they do at home.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing too, you know, being in school, being a teacher, coach, administrator has really given me an appreciation for all kids. You know what I'm saying? You may have a kid throwing a fit in Walmart or something, and I used to be, oh my Lord, but I mean now I realize that there's something behind that probably. More times than not. So,
yes.
And it's taught me to to be patient and you know have a different perspective.
Yeah,
also,
different. I mean, perspective.
Yeah. So
is you know, we talk about this. Everybody lives in their own perception of reality. Yeah.
So musically, what are you listening to?
Well, I listen to a lot of Christian music.
Right.
You know, my wife tries to get not as much anymore, but she tries to get me to listen to a lot of country. And
okay.
I'm not a huge country fan, I mean, really anything. Our kids are always playing High Hopes for the Living. What I don't even know who does that. Panic at the Disco or somebody. So whatever the kids have on is probably. When really a lot of times what the kids have on is like Cocomelon.
Well,
so I listen to a lot of Cocomelon.
He's gonna be like Cocomelon, Bluey. Those are my. That's my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Well, and what I found about middle school level, at times you have to immerse yourself into that music culture, because they could be playing something you're like, man, I like that, and then the next thing you know, like, oh my God, did they say what I thought?
I had a friend text me last night and say, man, this song was catchy, and then we've been singing it, and then I looked at the lyrics and was like, we're not listening to that anymore.
And that's absolutely the 100% truth,
Crazy.
So advice to someone that's thinking about education as a profession, what would you say to them?
I think we need educators more than ever before right
100%.
now. And I mean, really, I would, first of all, I think the starting income now is pretty good.
Sure.
So,
very competitive.
it's
it
something that, you can even go in as a lawyer in first year and not make $50,000.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a good place to start. But I'd also say, like, if they really have a heart for it and a heart for kids, especially that, because it's hard to teach that.
Sure.
I would say go for it. It's been a very rewarding career for me.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to somebody that's on the pathway, thinking about going that direction, I think the big thing is just perseverance, getting through that, and then your first year of teaching, just be
Hang on.
patient with yourself, So
Yeah, that's why I tell them to, I'm a big journaler. I say that. I mean, I've got them all over the place. I don't know if what I do constitutes journaling. It's journaling in pieces, but really to reflect on that first year, because for lots of reasons, I think there's going to be some great stories in there. But secondly, as you go through it and realize some of the mountains that you faced aren't that at all. I mean, it's so not. I mean, it's such a valley, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think and give it some time. That's the other part. I think a lot of times they get in. And let's be honest, it's kind of if it doesn't feel good, let's change society to a degree. But I mean, you got to give it some time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because your first couple of years are just going to be rough, and it's just going to be tough. But I mean, I really think once I got past that 3-year mark on teaching, you start to really enjoy most aspects of it.
Yeah, and
so
build that confidence and
Well, and the other thing, just like you have these rewarding experiences after the fact. Not usually the kids might hate you at the moment, but then they come back to you and realize later, they really liked you.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to admit it. But you have these rewarding experiences. Like even when I was at Cutter as a counselor, and I think it was when I was a counselor that this happened. We had a girl and she was just struggling, and just all I did was check on her at the prom. How you doing? Hey, so she actually messaged me this year, and she's like, I was having such a bad day. I was contemplating suicide.
Oh, wow.
And like that, you checking on me really just meant a lot that day. And so those kind of stories, like those are what we live for as educators.
That's why you're here.
So I would say, hey, it is worth it. You just got to get through some of the
and I can remember, because a lot of people tell you, hey, if you impact one kid, you've basically had a career. But through the years, lots and lots have been. But I can remember the first one that stood out to me was like, we live out in the country. Our mailbox is on the highway, so I would stop checking the mail, and I hear this truck go by and screech its tires and come back. I'm just like, but anyway, kid pulls up. He said, look, I want to tell you something. He said, I want to tell you thanks for not giving up on me. And again, I'm thinking, wasn't anything that I could really put my thumb on. But he talked through some, in my mind, were such just minuscule moments of saying, hey, basically pull your head out of your butt, but checking on him, like he said. And he said, I wanted you to be the first to know. I just left the Marine Corps office or whatever. He said, I'm signed up. I'm getting my life straight. But he said, a lot of folks had given up on me. You didn't. And I thought, And so as I got, back in my vehicle to drive down the dirt road back to the house, I mean, my chest kind of puffed out. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it is worth it.
It is because you literally can change a life, one person.
Oh, absolutely. So. And I think too, that's not the only reason we do it, but it's a great reason to do it.
It is. Yeah.
And that just inspired me and told me don't take the little minutes or moments, I should say, for granted.
Exactly. exactly.
Yeah, because there's kids that you'll impact that you
Yeah.
will never
You don't
even
even know.
know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you impacted.
Well,
you
and
know?
back to my middle school, high school, I can remember a young lady that, was, she was a little bit of a rounder in middle school, but her dad told me, he said, look, I'm tired of this mess. He said, I don't want to have to come out, leave work, but if she didn't get this stuff straightened out, call me. I'm going to come get her where I'm at. So I did. And I can remember her dad was upset because he had to leave work, but he held up his end. And I remember her saying to me as she walked out that day, Dad looked me in the eye and said, I hate your guts. And I was like, well, okay, But anyway, within a couple of weeks, it was a step-parent type situation, and there was some stuff going on. And she was at my office door, before 8 o'clock, waiting to talk to me because she knew at least she could come to me.
Exactly.
But, man, I told my wife that day, I said, man, that
It'll sting you.
Oh,
Yeah.
it stung down to the core.
Yeah.
I know kids don't. Not all
Yeah,
kids like me,
it.
but when they
I hate
verbalize
your
it,
guts.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
But as we got back into high school, again, she had some tough stuff she was going through but she was able to come and we get her, on the right path. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, that part was
Yeah.
awesome. So.
I mean, you got to hold them accountable. They have to learn that.
Right.
Life.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
We talk about just situations where you don't want to be an enabler.
Right.
Yeah.
You really you have to.
Right.
There's consequences for all of us in life.
And there's a fine line because it does seem like there's kind of a movement to say, hey, we got to consider their backgrounds and excuse their behavior, but that just in the end hurts the kid.
Exactly.
We've got to address the behavior. There has to be consequences, but at the same time, we have concern and care for the kids, and we support them in the middle of it.
I mean, it's like parenting. I mean, you discipline with love.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
But there are consequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with all the technological advances in the world, I need you to help me out with this one because I was down in the facilities earlier. But why is this still considered, the go-to paper towel in the school?
I was like, what is he pulling out of his pocket?
I'm saying it doesn't absorb water. The only thing I can remember, like being in elementary school, they would soak it in water. Now, this is like when I was in elementary school. The same stuff.
Yeah.
Put it on your head or whatever. But it's worthless.
It's so bad.
You would
I was
think,
like, what is he doing with a paper towel?
you would think in this day and age, right, they would have.
It's the same company.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Every school. It's
My gosh.
At least you don't have to wipe your butt with it.
Hey, they're making a killing though.
Well, that's what I started to say. I mean, but they haven't changed the recipe in forever.
I know.
And
well, if you keep buying it, why would you?
that's true. That's true. I just had to laugh at that because I can't think of
It is because it's like constantly, okay, it's not dry. Yeah.
And if something spills on the floor and you put it on
Forget
there,
it. Yeah,
for some reason it creates more water. I don't understand. Well, okay, that was just a
That's
question
awesome.
I had.
Yeah.
So anything else
Random.
you want
So random.
you want to throw at us before we get out of here?
I just, bless you for having to put up with Candace.
Oh, amen. Oh,
Listen.
man.
Was this planned? Was
No. Hey, the word's out. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody really knows.
Everybody
It's not me.
knows. That is, if you only knew. Oh, my gosh.
Like, I had to take so much from him because I dished so much out.
But what does this say of me? I've hired her twice.
Yeah, I know. What she got on you? That's what I want to
You
know.
talked about hiring me twice. I've accepted that twice. to work for you twice. I'm like,
let me just say, I don't lead with that. When I'm talking to folks and about some of my accomplishments, I don't lead with the fact that I heard Candace Bennett twice. Hey, because then you're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but that's the other part about it. Not only in education, but whatever you're doing, you got to have a sense of humor. Number one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Take your job super seriously, but you can't take yourself too seriously.
Yes.
Nobody else is, right?
Yes.
Well, you gotta have fun. You have to have fun.
Yes, you will go crazy.
You know?
and it doesn't matter what we're doing, and that's a big part of the reason we do what we do. I mean, hey, if nobody else has fun, we do.
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
we're always the troublemakers.
That's exactly.
Adam's like, yeah, I know
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
We work really hard though, but
Hey.
we do have a lot of fun.
Well, and the thing too, you know, back to Fountain Lake that I love is just the cohesiveness. I mean, he and I both participate in Bible study on a Tuesday morning, and we've got coaches, we've got administrators, superintendents in there, we got retired folks in there. Mark Davis, shout out, old man. So, but that's the
Clark.
thing again. The schools this size that I really enjoy. I think.
Well, and sometimes, like, I'm still finding out people are married that are at the district that I didn't even know
Yeah.
were married. I'm like, what? That person's not like, it's so connected.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, because you're like, I'd never put you two.
No.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks for giving us the opportunity
Yeah.
to come out, and we appreciate the
Enjoyed
visit
it.
today.
It was
And-
fun.
Enjoyed it.
hey,
It's
keep,
really fun.
Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, we
Mhm.
absolutely have to have more folks like you out
Amen.
there. And again,
Yep.
you know, it's not an easy gig. I get it, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
is.
See,
you
we
absolutely-
relate to him.
yeah.
Like, if we gave him the color personality test, he's
Yeah.
totally blue for sure. Yeah. He's blue. We're blue.
She gets wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
I can't even find the color. You know what I'm saying? So anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Well, again, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
And that will wrap up this edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D. I'm Darren Beckwith.
Candy Bennett.
Yeah, why are you pointing back
Candace
at me?
Bennett.
Yeah,
I was starting to be like,
yeah, I got you. I got
move
you.
on from the brown
Yeah,
paper
well,
towels.
yeah, and if you've got an answer to the brown towel, we'd love to know that too. So again, until next time, we will see you guys.